here at ACO Radio, American Communications Online, or any affiliated stations or websites are not responsible for what guest hosts or call-ins may say. All programming is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, world. Welcome aboard, all you ground troops spinning around smartly on the planet we call home, Gaia, Earth, Mother, and we are excited to share ACO Club, ACO Association, ACO Ascension Church Ohana, and our nonprofit Ascension Cosmos Oracles. I just think we had to change the name 1,000 times since there's so many companies with the ACO in it in Florida, where we are now. I'm talking to you from the great state of Florida, and I am in the Panhandle doing my job to make the world a better place in our world with older people. We are your trusted veterans that are meeting today as a nonprofit online. We've been here 9 years now, and we're really excited. We have the Allied Command Organization and the passing of Pastor Dean, Robert O. Dean, if any of those remember him, and Stanton T. Friedman of our UFO Association, and so many people have passed on the other side, but we still have a few walking around in their meat suits, as they say these days. We are better known as sentient, intelligent beings, and we've asked other people if they would like to participate in our Sunday shows for 9 years now, and so we're going to begin today. We've got two gentlemen, Pastor Richard T. Knight of Valdosta, Georgia, and Pastor Ralph Kennedy Johnston of New Mexico, and they have both been in the Universal Life Ministry for quite a while now, many, many years, and we're going to get started while we're waiting on Pastor Richard. He didn't answer, but it sounds really windy and rainy out there, so we're having some interesting weather. Pastor Ken Johnston, can you hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear. How am I coming through?
Coming through great. This is a good sound check. Now, Pastor Ken Johnston, you have a history to tell of your life, and we are celebrating our 9th year. This is live and recorded, and for this is our ACO Association, our Ascension Church Ohana, which you and your wife have known for years about the Articles and By-laws and helped us because we were all signed up as universal lifers. We've got a lot of people that sign up free out there in California, but you live in California, and you studied that situation for a long time. And we, even though we registered there, we've got you registered with your diploma and certification through our church, our Ascension Church Ohana Group, our Ascension Center organization. We have our own federal ID, and we filed our 501c3 here. But could you tell people a little about your history with that group out there? Because that was really how a lot of people online learned we could have married people, and we can have this radio show here that we've had for 9 years. Will you tell them a little about your history back then and how you became ACO with us? It led up today.
I don't know. Do we have an extra week for me to go into detail? No. Whenever I got transferred with NASA and everything out to Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and, we got to go all the way back to when I was first ordained. That goes way back into the history. But anyway, I got involved with the local in California, in the Vandenberg area, with the churches out there. More of the we would get together on. We didn't have the kind of telephone connections and things that we have nowadays by all means, but then we would try to get together out at the base, Vandenberg Air Force Base, and that way we could kind of put together water plans and things. That's amazing. I hadn't really thought about that, TJ, but this was back before we even realized that we were in a position of ET contact and what else is going on in this universe. So I think probably the easiest thing is if people have some questions, I'd love them to dial in and ask questions, and you'll trigger my brain, because my brain has been banged around so much lately that you almost need to push the right button to get me to get into the.
Well, Pastor Rick Knight was going to be here today. I've got his name up, and he approved yesterday, so I just don't reach him right now. I don't know what's up. So he was going to help us on Sundays, and he was on yesterday's show to help. But, yeah, sure, I can go through things with you. And, Robert O'Dean was with the many of the Allied Command and a lot of us in the military. So we're serving from that point, but at the same time, all of us believe in a higher power, but it's up to you, folks. We're all unconditional love, and we've been doing this 9 years now, so, most of us have formed us around like a UFO church or Alien Civilizations Exist church, if you'll allow, or ACO for Alien Contact Organization, or we have UFO Association, and now we have UAP Associates, but we're very careful who we put together because we all want to love and honor and trust and have morals and issues. But we're working now in cyberspace as a cultural consciousness club or culture consciousness unincorporated association with people all over the world that don't have to pay anything to get into cyberspace. And this isn't a new concept for those of us that are Ascension Cosmos Oracles. But Ken, at one time, found the Universal Life Church in Modesto, California, which I have a certificate of. And a lot of people don't know that we were actually ordained and that Ken actually lived in California, and we're starting our directory all over again for just the people that know Ken and I. And Ken is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'm in Gulf Breeze, Florida. Now, we have a history with NASA, and we're both veterans, and we are going to talk about what got us interested in being that we are following our higher consciousness, and we're also about staying up on cognitive consciousness and how we can keep our brains activated by speaking to each other. And even though a lot of people, because of COVID-19 in 2020, couldn't go to church, that just made us realize that this is important to put 2020 behind us and move forward and keep each other interested. And for whatever reasons, I don't see anybody else here right now. It could be the weather, Ken, that we're supposed to show up. They all showed up yesterday, and they were invited to today, but we'll see what happens today. So, Ken, you may have to do most of the talking today, which is, I know you have the gift of gab, so we just need to get you wound up. So,
I think your key word right then was getting me wound up. Because, as you well know, when you called a few minutes ago and to wake me up, it's a good thing you did, because I had dropped off into Never Never Land almost. But I'm a little excited about finally. Will you try this one for size? I sat down at my little desk here and I pulled up a couple of little spiral notebooks and I opened up one of them, and the first thing it said on there is called TJ.
Oh, good.
I am serious. And it even had the phone number that I use. It's all right here in front of me. So the problem is we've been given minds and brains and intelligence, hopefully, and using them. And you can get banged up a little bit. And I've been through that very recently, as TJ was telling you. My wife loves her big horses, and I put up with the little miniature horses that we have. They're kind of fun. But this big horse, I was out there it wanted me to feed it real fast, and I was standing right beside where the trough was, and I guess I was a little bit in this big horse's, because it's like, I think the term is a little over 6 hands or whatever it was. It swung its head around and just hit me and lifted me off the ground and knocked me on the dirt, and I hit a rock. So that kind of slowed me up for a little bit. But now, TJ, thank you so much for calling and finding out if I was on this planet, because and delusional wherever it was. But I don't want people to think that I'm really nutcake. But then we've all had a few accidents and problems from time to time, and hopefully, actually, this is a great opportunity for me to start getting myself back up to speed, and I think that's the way we're being expected to do in this world and this time period that we're at. So, anyway, with that in mind, let's rock, let's roll, let's make it happen. I'm ready to go from wherever you want to go, TJ.
Okay, good. Well, most of us are meeting on Facebook, Ken, and I've noticed you're very good about showing up in our ACO club. We have a little club, ACO club, for open source for our friends with Ken and our ACO club, our Ascension Church Ohana, our Ascension Cosmos Oracles. We all feel like we have divine guidance. It just depends on, in today's scientific way of thinking logically and rational, they're trying to think that we have to separate the big G from the little G's, and that's okay because there's a whole new way of talking, and the children much younger than us that grew up with video games and that know who Ray Kurzweil, I think with an R, with Google, help Google write everything up and helps us here. And we are owned by a company called iHeart now in radio that is owning Spreaker, that bought Spreaker, bought VoxNest, that bought Blog Talk Radio, which I made sure I confirmed with a human, even though I've seen it in writing online. Much of what I do now, Ken, is based on what I see in cyberspace written and in video and audio, so audio video. So what I'd like to do is get you more involved with us again in audio and video. So audio is where we're listening and to Ken on Sundays. Show up, help us figure out if we're going to be able to keep the kids or everybody that's growing up with some respect for their elders. And we are in America, so we have a road less traveled maybe for people in the world, but we're the number one way that, now I'm going to speak just for me, that I grew up believing in God based on going to church on Sundays where you had to sit on a hard pew, I think, to keep you awake and listen to a man preach. But I was raised in the Southern Baptist, not to say that it's good or bad or indifferent. My opinion is that I moved forward, and that is a great association, and our articles and bylaws reflect that as a model with that. And also I told Ken before today's show, Civitan International, which is a fellowship group that trained me and had me go to Memphis to learn to be in front of people, and when they all start talking, how to stay in control. And all the presidents of the different organizations around the country sort of knew what I was up and laughed at me because it was very hard when you had 6 or 8 people sitting at a table and you're trying to be trained and you can't control them because they're all talking at once. So that was part of my training for what we're doing today, but now we're not in person. Most of my family has gone to a sit-down, old-timey, go-to-the-church, brick-and-mortar business, either Unity or we got one here called Liberty Church, Ken, and we have Unity Church here, which you and I have been to, and I've been in Hawaii. So, Ken, ours is more about how we can talk to each other online and keep each other abreast of the worlds. And yesterday we were talking about the quadrants and because the kids are very aware of their awareness, and they're also very aware of learning how to go to sleep, dream, and know that consciousness is dreaming too.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'd add to that, and it comes from ancient time training that I had, and that had to do with self-hypnosis and being able to tap into our mind, or our history, or events and things that have happened throughout our life. And I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking with people that have been in such universal. We're not the only intelligent beings in the universe, let's face it, and the sooner we can move forward and actually make direct contact